if you can please take that question.
Brother has posed a question that how to speak to those people who do not believe in Christianity, do not believe in Judaism, they are secular in nature, and how to prove them that the ideology that they have about secularism is wrong and not correct. And in the previous answers, this question was answered, saying that you have to search the interest of such a person. What is the field of interest? And once you tap that, for example, secularism itself, if that is the subject, try to dwell on the subject of secularism with him and compare with the ideology and system that they have and the system of Islam. Compare the system of secularism or communism or any ideology, and inshallah, in comparison with Islam, Islam is the best way of living. Islam is the best code of living, because the rules and regulation are given by the Creator himself, and he is the Creator. He knows what is best and what is good for humanity, his creation. So when you compare the system and ideology of Islam with any ideology, with any ism, inshallah, you will have superiority with the case of Islam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises, as it was quoted, the various verses from the Quran, chapter 48, verse number 28, chapter 9, verse number 33, هُوَ الَّذِي أَرْسَلَ رَسُولَهُ بِالْهُدَى وَدِينِ الْحَقِّ لِيُظْهِرَهُ عَلَى الدِّينِ كُلِّهِ. That he will prevail the religion of deen over all isms, whether it is Judaism, Christianity, communism, secularism, any ism. So inshallah, if you do that homework of comparison with the ideology and thinking what they have with Islam, inshallah, you'll be able to do the job.
Jazakallahu khairan. In taking a question from a sister asks that Jamal Badawi says wisdom in da'wah is to say the right thing at the right time, in the right place, at the right time. One may conclude from what you said that you approach non-Muslims at any time and say anything. If you get into difficulty, then you go home and do your homework. Is this wisdom? Dr. Zakir Naik, please.
Sister posed the question that Dr. Jamal Badi said that when you speak to the non-Muslims, you should speak the right thing at the right time. And she said that I said that whenever you meet a Muslim, you should do dawah and then go and do your homework. What Dr. Jamal Badwi said is perfectly fine. But what you have said, I said whenever you meet a non-Muslim, even if you don't know anything, at least say that there is one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of keeping quiet. If you keep quiet, you get 0 marks. If you say to a non-Muslim, if you don't know, the least you can say, I said, is there's one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even if they agree or don't agree, at least you will get sawab. So whatever you know, the least a Muslim can say is that there's one Allah. Least. If you know about dawah, you can say 1,000 things. But the least a Muslim can say, no Muslim can say, I don't know about Islam at all. Then he's not a Muslim at all. So when I was trying to explain that the least you can say, instead of not doing anything, at least say there's one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even you may not be able to convince him, instead of keeping quiet. Now same thing, Jamal Badwi, when he said that you have to say the right thing at the right time, so both are correct, but instead of not saying anything, at least say something. That doesn't mean you have to keep quiet. And even Jamal Badwi didn't say that you have to keep quiet. So best is to say that if you know how to do dawah, if you are well versed with analyzing the thing and how to convey the message, it is the best. But if you are not experienced in the field, the least you can do is say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then inshallah, as time passes, the moment you are not able to convince, when they ask you a question, you come and do your homework. But even if you don't know the answer, the moment you say that one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you're not able to convince, at least you will get the sawab instead of keeping quiet. But many a time the Muslims, they say, I don't know how to do dawah, so they keep quiet and they let the opportunity go. Therefore, I disagree with the opportunity being let away. You should go and do dawah and try and convince in the best way that you can. Hope that answers the question.
If we take a question from brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
This question is directed to Brother Zaik. Basically, your speech was very enlightening. However, there was one point which I was a bit mind-geared on. Basically, you kind of went endlessly on how it's quite important to do the dawah work and the itikaf work, even if we know very little. But basically, and how you have to be like, how it's important to be a complete Muslim, not to, it's not important that we get our full Muslim community completely up to scratch before we do the dawah work. But my question is basically, from the Muslim community I've been brought up with, I've seen the Muslim community being very divided among themselves. So my question is, what hope do we have for giving dawah to a third party when we ourselves are split with our with our beliefs and our doings? For example, if you take the Eid itself, which is like one of the important celebrations in the Islamic, in the Muslim thing. Basically, if we were doing it on two separate days, what hope do we have for the third party to who we are doing dawah to take upon our Eid when we are divided among ourselves?
Jazakallah khair.
There was a question that when we do dawah to non-Muslims, when the Muslims themselves are divided, for example, Eid, some people celebrate on different days. So if we ourselves are divided, how can we do dawah with the non-Muslims? Brother, I do agree that if the Eid is celebrated on different days in the same city, there will be little problem, but that should not disappoint us. Because Eid is something else. That does not mean that a certain group of Muslims, they disagree that Eid should not be today, should be tomorrow. So that is a difference in opinion. That doesn't mean that if we differ, we cannot do dawah at all. And I said that dawah is important because if you say that I will become a great, first I'll have enough knowledge on how to do dawah with non-Muslims and then start doing dawah, I say that time will never come. If you say first I'll read about Islam and then start doing dawah, that time will never come. The moment you start and you cannot answer, you immediately try and find the answer. But if you do not start doing dawah, the time will never come. Therefore, my advice is that whatever little bit you know, you at least start. They may not agree with you. The moment you don't agree with you, you go and try and do your homework. For example, if you fail in an examination, what do? If you fail in an examination, you go and do your homework so the next time you pass. But if you don't talk at all for years together, then you'll never start doing dawah. So my advice is that whatever little bit you know, you have to start, as our beloved Prophet Muhammad said, Ballighu anni walau ayah. Propagate even if you know one verse. Now if there's difference in opinion for certain things, like about Eid or anything else, that should not be a major thing. It is a problem, it's a minor problem. Because if, suppose, at that time the Muslims differ, some have Eid today, some have Eid tomorrow, that should not be a major problem. That's not an issue in which, because if the Muslims differ, that means you can't do dawah at all. You can sure, yeah. I mean, the full year is there. So what we should do, if these small mistakes are there, and because of that you say that, okay, I will not do dawah, I feel this is an excuse on the point of the Muslims to prevent doing dawah. See, we, alhamdulillah, even in Bombay it's the same thing. There are different opinions. But yet we are doing dawah. We are doing dawah with thousands of people. Thousands of people. And there are hardly any non-Muslims who object and tell us that why do the Muslims object? Why do the Muslims differ? Yeah, there's a little bit problem. There will be little bit problems in it. But that should not be a real case for not doing dawah. These are just small points which a person should neglect and should be interested in conveying the message of Islam to them.
Jazakallah khairan. A question from a sister who has specifically asked that this be answered by Dr. Zakir Naik. She says that at my workplace, my non-Muslim colleague has a Muslim